Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. I am Brian Nemhauser, and here we are on Tuesday of a special week for the Seahawks offseason where the media does get access to 3 different OTA practices. Yesterday was the first of those 3, and learned a lot in that practice. Never want to react too much to one practice, and certainly the first one you see. Things change quite a bit as time goes on, and I will be back at the VMAC both tomorrow, Wednesday, as well as Thursday to gather more information, and I'll share all of those thoughts with you along the way as we kind of learn about this 2025 Seahawks team together. Lots of cool stuff, lots of things that caught my attention. I did do a quick practice report yesterday. You can find that on the channel. I also have an announcement I'm going to be able to share later today. So keep an eye on the channel. I will do a little bit of a live announcement and share some stuff I'm pretty excited about later today. So best way to find out when is by clicking like, clicking subscribe, and click the bell to get notified when I go live, and we will talk through some fun stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Keep an eye out for that as well. Got a bunch to get through in this show. It's fun to have things to talk about. I will play for you in just a moment an interview that I did with Byron Murphy after practice. Had a really good conversation with him. We'll share that for you. You've probably gotten a little bit of a sneak peek from some of that interview on our YouTube shorts and reels and other things that Will Hart, our intrepid reel short TikTok guy, has been creating. So you got a little bit there. I'll play the full thing for you in just a moment. I also have some sound from both Aden Durde, the defensive coordinator, and Devon Witherspoon that I will play and react to as well. So we got that. Intermixed between all those things, I will share with you some additional insights from practice yesterday, some things that I'll repeat some of what I shared yesterday, but I'll also offer a couple things that I think I didn't mention yesterday. So a little bit more there that I know everybody is always hungry for. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. This was my conversation with Byron Murphy, the Seahawks rookie, second year defensive tackle. He was their first round pick last year, and a guy that I think played a lot better than his numbers would indicate, and I think has a lot of potential to take a next step this year. I think it's not just potential, it's critical that Byron Murphy takes a next step this year. They invested a high pick in him. He has a lot to offer, and one of the things that I've noticed in Byron Murphy's, career, whether it was in high school or in college, was that he progressively improved as he got adjusted to each level. And this is his second year. And I think it's time for him to step up. You'll hear us talk about some of the things that they might change in his role that might affect some of those numbers that I think people pay a little bit more attention to when they're evaluating whether a player was a good pick or a bad pick. I think Byron Murphy already is on his way to being a good pick, and I think the question is whether or not he can be a great pick. You'll also find in this interview, I set up my camera a little bit further away. I wanted to get a little bit of a nice view from where I was shooting the interview, and you'll see Seahawks staff driving through in front of us. So I got a good laugh out of that, but we had a good time, and Byron was, I think I was the first person to talk to him after he was drafted last year. And that was a great conversation. So we've kind of stayed in touch since then. Without further ado, let me put this out here for you guys to hear my conversation with Byron Murphy. All right, so we are talking to Byron Murphy of the Seahawks, coming into your second season. If you look back at your rookie year, what do you think about your rookie season?
I feel like I did a great job my rookie year. Not what I expected it to be. Going through injuries and things like that, but overall, I feel like I helped my team out a lot, and I feel like I did good in my eyes.
This is going to be a great part of the interview, right?
So I just feel like I had just a great season overall, though.
Well, so you had high expectations. You and I talked right after you were picked, and people were comparing you to Aaron Donald, and you were like, "Hey man, I want to be better than Aaron Donald."
Right.
Darnold. So, Donald. Sorry. So, what is it that you feel like you want to do, or you worked on this offseason to kind of take that next step?
The biggest thing I worked on this offseason was pass rushing. That's all out. That was my main focus. I wasn't worried about the run at all. I know I can do that. Day in, day out, play in, play out. But the biggest thing was really just pass rushing. So I've been with AD. I've been with him all off season, just training, working on my hands, get off. Just staying low. Just variety of a move. So just coming into this season, just knowing how to rush, just knowing where I got to get to and where I need to be. So I feel like I'm fully prepared and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and Coach McDonald, AD, also talked about that, like, hey, you earned more pass rush reps last year, and it's their job to kind of figure out how to utilize you. They talked about how they might use you differently than they did last year?
We talked about it a little bit, supposed to be getting more reps at 3-tech, playing at 3-tech a lot this year, more than I did last year. So rarely playing a little nose, but mostly 3-tech this year. So you expect to see a lot of rushes from me.
So, you kind of had this, high school, you started a different position, you came on, you weren't highly recruited, and then, became a big recruit. College, you came in a little slower, first year, second year bigger, third year even bigger. Yeah. What is it about kind of for you when you jump a level that you take a year to kind of adjust?
Man, really just sticking with it every day, just working hard each and every day. I'm big on being consistent, so just really being consistent, it really take you to that next level, to that next step, in your career. So hopefully, I feel like I've been doing the right things, been taking the right steps, being consistent. So year 2 should be a breakout year.
So last year, people were calling you Quadzilla. They hadn't seen your legs before. I feel like you got a little competition this year. There's some big quads on this squad. Some of the rookies. You seen Robbie Oots, fullback, man?
Yeah, that's a big guy right there. I seen it. Matter of fact, I was talking about him last week. I looked at him. I'm like, oh my God, he got some big old legs. But I think mine's bigger still. I think I got the biggest quads on the team still.
So here we go. Yeah, come on. So obviously the defense made a big impression last year. It was a big part of how the team finished with 10 wins. You guys, last part of the year, top 10, top 5 defense. Yeah. What are your kind of goals as a unit? When you guys talk to each other, how good do you want to be this year?
Man, we don't want to be good. We want to be great. We feel like, D-line, that's the unit that drive the boat for the defense. It all starts with us. So determine on how we play or how we come into that weekend, that Sunday, dictate either we win or lose. So we putting all the pressure on us, and I feel like, that's what we need to do, in order to win games, and really just make it far. So really just putting it all on the D-line, man. Pressure, sacks, all that. We trying to be number 1 this year in everything.
Well, and home field's a big part of that. Seahawks fans are used to the Seahawks dominating at home, giving the defense a huge advantage. Last year, didn't win as many games at home. You start first game of the season against the 49ers. How big is it to get off and show everybody who's kind of looking at the Seahawks and saying, people are expecting 7-8 wins from you guys. What do you think when you hear that?
We just gonna put our head down, work, and we're just gonna prove everybody wrong. That's it. We love doubters. There's always doubters. So it feels real good when you prove them wrong. So 7-8 wins, I don't even see that happening. Not in my eyes at all.
I saw you guys went to T-Mobile Park, the baseball, did some baseball stuff. Yeah. And there's the Mission Impossible premiere. It seems like maybe there's a little bit more fun happening around here this year than last year. Do you think so?
Yeah. It's a little more fun. Mike trying to make it a fun environment. So, and he's been doing a pretty good job at it. So it's been fun. It's been real fun. Football, and then like you said, going, taking a little time off. Have fun with the guys. Just bonding, team bonding. I feel like that's what it's all about.
You feel like this team's closer, a year in now that you got a lot more people that have been through this system, been together.
Most definitely. I feel like that's really what we took. That was a big part that we talked about this offseason. Guys just bonding, anything. Me and a few guys, we get in the sun every day, and now we so close, everybody done got to know each other. So really just any little thing, that that can help the team, help guys get to know each other, we willing to do it.
All right, last thing. I know you're not putting pads on yet, so it's probably hard to tell, but offensive line's a big part of how this team's got to improve. What are your impressions? Obviously you got some new guys along the offensive line, new scheme. Any initial impressions on that side of the ball?
I'm very impressed with the O-line. I feel like we took a big step, got a couple guys, the rookie, I like the rook. But, I feel like also, too, it's our job to get them better as well. So, just day in, day out, giving them everything we got, I feel like that's going to prepare them for Sundays.
Byron Murphy, good luck on the season, man. Always good to see you, dude.
Yes,
all right, Byron Murphy, your Seattle Seahawks.
Pleasure to speak with this guy, and always a fun conversation. Julian Love of yours.
That was Byron Murphy, and a fun conversation with him. And there's things that stuck out in there. Obviously, the fact that you're talking about a guy that's going to be getting reps at 3-tech, that matters. That's a position where Mike McDonald talked last year about, hey, Leonard Williams has kind of got that position on lock. It's hard to take him out of that because he was maybe the best 3-tech in football for a good part of the year. The fact that, Byron mentioned that he's going to be playing more 3-tech this year, I think is important. I'm going to play some sound for you in a second where, Aden Durde confirms something along those lines as well. So, good to hear that. And additionally, I think that the fact that he kind of recognizes that it wasn't necessarily the season that he expected, I think that's generally a good thing. I think, he obviously credits himself for having a good year, and I think he should. He did have a good year, but it wasn't the year he wanted it to be. And I think he's hoping that this is a breakout season. I think that's good news. And then, I enjoyed seeing his reactions to just kind of how well they know each other on the team and the camaraderie that's building. I think that's a theme that I've picked up on this offseason that feels pretty different than what it was last year. Doesn't mean that they weren't getting along last year, but there's a lot of new faces, new coaches, new players, new kind of everything last year. And it feels like things have started to kind of coalesce a little bit more than they did at this time a year ago. And I think that can only mean good things. Outside of that, you heard him talk about Robbie Oots and and the quad competition that's going on in there. And he didn't mention him by name. He talked about the rook on offensive line. He's talking about Gray Zabel there, and good to hear that his initial impressions are positive. So, look, I think Byron Murphy is a huge bellwether for this team in general. I don't think if he's just the same player as last year that the team's going to be bad. But if Byron Murphy can be the impact player that I think we all wanted him or want him to be, including him, then this team has a totally different level that it can unlock. So I think he's a really, really big part of the future of this team. And this is a big year for him to kind of see how that evolves. I'm going to play some sound for you from Aden Durde here in just a second. Before I do, make sure you give the show a like and click subscribe. We already got some fun super chat stuff going on. Bryce Coots back at it. He's given 20 Hawk Blogger memberships. Bryce was given all sorts of Hawk Blogger memberships a month or two ago, and great to see Bryce doing it again. That's 20 free memberships. All you got to do is turn gifting on for your YouTube account. If you don't know how to do that, do a quick Google search. You'll find it. And once you've turned gifting on, then all it's up to at that point is make sure you've liked, subscribed, watched shows, commented, all those things. That's how YouTube determines who gets these free memberships that Bryce just gave. So if you get one of these free memberships, consider paying it forward, giving one to somebody else, or upgrading to club level or higher gets you access to the Discord channel. Also gets you early access to player interviews like the one I just played for you from Byron Murphy, which was available for all club level and higher yesterday. Also got Plenipote here as a member. Welcome to the crew. Not sure if that's an upgrade or just a re-entry, but I know Plenipote's been a member before, so glad to have you here. And then Bryce has a super chat here. He says, "Hey, Brian, thanks for the awesome content. You're my daily watch for Seahawks content. Does the overall vibe at OTAs feel different this year than last year. Well, that is a really nice thing for you to say. I'm glad that you enjoy the show, trying to keep it going here and keep folks with fresh, different stuff each day. As far as the vibes, honestly, I can't really speak to OTA versus OTA because I didn't have credentials at this time last year, so I didn't attend OTA practices. Yesterday was literally the first OTA I have ever attended. Now, it's called an OTA, but it's still a practice, and a lot of it looked very similar to any other practice I've attended in the past. But no pads, but not all practices have pads either. I think that my vibe impression from the team is that there's a lot of camaraderie. I think defensively, it's very cohesive. Those guys know each other. They know what they're capable of. They're excited about what they're going to be able to do together. It comes out. They're not feeling things out. They're not, taking false steps. I think they're just kind of locked in much earlier than they were last year. Offensively, I think you see there's a lot of, positive connection between the rookies. I think this rookie class is going to be really tight, and you've got Gray Zabel and Mason Richmond and Bryce Cabledew, who are all in the same unit, not only rookies, but the same unit. And then you add in Jalen Milroe and Robbie Oots and Elijah Arroyo. Like, there's a lot of offensive rookies. And so I think that you see there's some closeness with that crew as well. And then, offensively overall, I still feel like that group is in the very early stages. And I talked about this yesterday that, Sam Darnold did not have a great practice. Like, he still looked uncomfortable operating in the offense that they were doing. I didn't see the receivers necessarily clearly getting open on a regular basis. There was a number of checkdowns. And when you've got this kind of herky-jerky, not quite in sync yet offensive performance, I think that can kind of affect how cohesive the offensive locker room is as well. I'm not saying that there's any bad blood, but I don't think you can really compare all the newness on the offensive side of the ball with, all of the familiarity with the defensive side. It's just a very, very different situation. New coaches on offense, same coaches on defense, new players on offense, same players on defense. There's a lot, new scheme on offense, same scheme on defense. So it's just a not comparable situation. But I think generally speaking, the vibes are really good. And I think heading in the right direction. You heard Byron talk about the fact that Coach McDonald has spent more time and effort trying to not just make this a work environment, but make it a team environment, adding some fun in there on their trips, their field trips and so forth. So I think all that's good stuff. Couple observations before I play you my Aden Durde sound. A couple of observations I have from OTAs yesterday that I didn't share. So first things first, I would just say that, and maybe what I'll do, let me see if I can get this to work real quick. The Charles Cross. So Charles Cross is what I'm getting to. I'm going to try to quickly put a video out here that I can play for you. I'll upload some of these things, but Charles Cross just looks big, man. And I've seen it before, but it really just stuck out to me watching him warm up. And let me drop this over. 1 second. Let's do that again. And I'll see if I can get this to be shared real quick. I just think he looks much better, much bigger, than he did. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he put on 10 or 20 pounds from what he was a year ago. He just looks stronger, bigger, and you put that, next to Abe Lucas, who always is looking strong and big. That was cool to see. I also think like Gray Zabel, a lot of rookies look like maybe they don't belong, or they have some strength to add in order to really fit in the league. Gray Zabel, he just already looks like an NFL offensive lineman from my perspective. So I'm going to share this video eventually. It might take me a second to have it actually work, but it's worth it because, come on, who doesn't want to see these guys do their thing? All right. I just got to do a quick, I think I got to do a quick conversion for this to work. Anyway, the other thing that I would share here was there was this might be nothing. So this might be nothing. I'm going to be honest and just acknowledge that to start with. But at the very beginning of practice, there was this gathering of all the tight ends. And I'll also just put this picture up for you guys to see. And the thing that stood out to me about this, besides the fact that it was kind of just cool that they did that they called Jake Bobo over before they all got into here. I'll share this with you all so you can see it. Whoops. I got to actually add it to the stage for that to work. So here is, they've added, they're all gathering together, and you see all the tight ends. And the thing that was cool about this was, one, it was just kind of cool to see, but I kind of wondered, like, why Bobo? They didn't invite any of the other receivers. Is there a chance that they're going to be using Bobo in some tight end formations? Like, is that a possibility? I'm curious. I didn't see him doing any tight end drills. I didn't see him lined up as a tight end during practice. So it might have just been a random thing, but it did kind of caught my attention when I saw it happening. All right. So here is some a video of Charles Cross. And you could see him here. He's number 67. I'm going to mute it. But there's Gray Zabel. There's Satao Lamea. And just Charles Cross just looks big, man. He looks big. There's Bryce Cabledew, number 77. Mike Jarrell. There's Olu. For whatever reason, he wanted to continue doing his lateral movement. But if you just look at Charles Cross there, look at his arms. I mean, you don't see it from this angle, but his stomach as well. Like it's not always the worst thing for offensive linemen to have a little bit of a belly. Charles Cross has always almost looked like a tight end because he's so slim, but he didn't look like that. He didn't look like that yesterday. So that just kind of stood out to me watching him. And I think that's good news. Like, if he's adding strength to what is already quickness, you can also see Christian Haynes, 64 in there. There's Anthony Bradford, 75. Let me pause there. So I thought Anthony Bradford looks to me a little bit slimmer. He's a big guy. He's always been a big guy, but he looks a little bit slimmer than he did before. And you can see down the line there on the right side, you see obviously Bryce Cabledew. Then 78 is Mason Richman. 79 is Amari Kite, the undrafted free agent who had some time in Alabama. He's also a big guy. But that was one of the things that kind of stood out to me about watching guys yesterday. Let me see. There's one other thing I was going to get to before I moved on, but I think there's this weird possibility I found myself thinking about as I kind of absorbed what I saw at practice yesterday, and it was, what if the Seahawks offensive line is good, but the offense is not? It would be a bizarro world for the Seahawks offense, but the Seahawks offense to not be better. And there is some possibility that that could be the case. It is possible that the receiving core is not dynamic enough to threaten defenses over the top in order to, that they don't have enough. They don't have, for all we know, the Seahawks have one starting caliber receiver on their team. Jackson Smith-Njigba obviously is one of the better receivers in the game. We don't know yet. We can be hopeful. We can be excited. We don't know yet whether Cooper Kupp still is a starting caliber receiver. His play last year indicated he was not. He will have to be different this year for that to be the case. We can be excited about Torrey Horton. He's a 5th-round rookie. We don't know what he is going to be or not going to be. MVS is a guy who I continue to be excited about and think will be a good player, but he's been a journeyman. So, like, there is the floor for the receiver room is quite low. The ceiling may not be that high either. I think that's the thing that's a little challenging. I think the good version of Cooper Kupp, even if he is playing well, still may not be a good complement to JSN in terms of what he does to force defenses into different coverages. MVS, even the good version of him, may not be enough to threaten defenses and open things up over the top, to open things up underneath. I'm not sitting here dooming and glooming. I'm not saying that that's what is going to happen. I'm just acknowledging that was part of what I observed. Was there's a lot of risk in how that receiver room is going to come together. I think you could really feel the lack of DK Metcalf out there. DK Metcalf, when he arrived at camp and was on the field, he just commanded so much respect and attention from the defense. The offense always knew that he was available to potentially throw to, and he was just omnipresent. There wasn't a guy out there like JSN, as good as he is not that. He's not a guy where people are just super intimidated to go against him, that he just commands all sorts of respect right from the jump. That doesn't mean he's not great, but he's a different type of receiver. And so, I personally really felt that difference yesterday without DK Metcalf there. And, it's going to be pretty important to see other guys step forward. Cody White had a really nice practice, back-to-back touchdowns in a red zone drill, nice catches, nice routes. He had some good moments last year. I don't think we should count on Cody White being like the savior, but you need somebody to, really take a meaningful step forward, or you need Cooper Kupp to be, the better version of what he can be. So that was another part that for me kind of stood out. I went back and I was looking at my notes, and, here's what I had for Sam Darnold early on. So the first drill was at the 5-yard line, 3rd down drill, and Darnold completed a seam pass to Cooper Kupp. It's a nice pass. I think I can't remember if that one got all the way in or not. Second play, there was good coverage, and this was the first time where I just saw what for me felt like frenetic, really trying to progress through his reads, and his feet were just like moving rapidly through this. And it, like, frenetic is the word for me. And it's not the kind of feet that I think necessarily looks confident and ready to throw from a stable platform. think about Peyton Manning when he played. His feet were pretty active. Having active feet's not a bad thing, but he was always coordinated and his feet were always in a stable position where he could throw from as soon as they hit the ground. Sam just looked like his feet were getting ahead of his body and he looked uncomfortable in the pocket. And as I said yesterday, Drew Lock looked completely different. When Drew Lock would go through a progression, his feet would flip to the new direction and his eyes would follow, and then they'd flip and they'd flip. And it was very much a coordinated maneuver that just looked smooth. And he played great yesterday. He was definitely the best quarterback on the field yesterday, at least by his performance. Granted, you're going against different players and all that, and you're playing with different players. You have different receivers you're working with. So all that plays into account because look, I have in my notes here when Drew Lock came in after Sam Darnold, touchdown pass to Cody White against Demario Williams, and then touchdown pass on the next play against Nehemiah Pritchett. That is very different than going up against Devon Witherspoon, Reek Woolen, Julian Love, like Kobe Bryant. That is a very different problem or challenge. And so you cannot ignore that in the performances of the quarterbacks. That said, there are some process over results things that I was looking at there, and just the way that Drew Lock was handling his business felt more repeatable and reliable than what I was seeing from Sam Darnold. And Drew Lock just made some, you can be making some of these throws against air and they would be excellent throws. His throw in the back corner of the end zone to MVS for a touchdown was easily the throw of the day. Perfect timing, perfect touch, perfect anticipation, perfect placement. So, he really had a nice day, and that was good to see. It was good to see someone do that. Jalen Milroe, I think everyone's always curious about Jalen Milroe. I thought Jalen Milroe had a nondescript day. He had one play that I think might be emblematic of what his first year is going to be like if he gets a chance to get on the field. He took the handoff under center and he went to do a play action, but there was nobody there. So either he called the wrong play, ran the wrong play, or the running back was in the wrong place. All those things are possible, but it was essentially kind of busted. His body language made me think he might have made a mistake. And so now he's faking a handoff to air because there's nobody there. And the play is kind of busted. And so he breaks the pocket and makes a throw downfield. It was a gorgeous throw. It was a gorgeous throw. It was a layered throw over the first level of the defense into what would have been, I could not see who was the player that he was throwing to, but they did. I think it might have been Elijah Arroyo, but I'm not positive. And the player wasn't able to make the catch, but it was a perfect throw. That might be Jalen Milroe, like rookie mistakes, mental mistakes, doesn't have all the details nailed down, might not be great within the framework of the offense to start with, but has the ability to create plays off script. I saw some inaccurate throws. I saw some, ones, like I said, that were pretty nice. So he did not get many reps. And I think that's going to be a challenge for him as well, because Sam Darnold clearly needs every rep they can give him to get him as good as possible, because you might hear my report or other people's report on Sam Darnold and think, oh, maybe there'll be a QB controversy or a competition. There's just not. It's not going to happen. Like, I don't see it as a possibility that the team signed Sam Darnold to the contract they signed him to, and that they're going to have Drew Lock end up as their starter. I cannot see that happening. You might say, well, hey, you got to have the best player start if that's the case. Well, maybe, but I I cannot imagine the team going through a situation other than due to injury where they would start anybody but Sam Darnold this year. So, maybe if things go really poorly during the season, then yeah, you might see some change. But it would be a massive shock if anybody but Sam Darnold was a starter heading into the season. Other things that kind of caught my attention, I mentioned yesterday, I think Zach Charbonnet looked really good. I thought Kenny McIntosh looked really good. Ty Okada had a great pass breakup in the end zone late when they're doing red zone drills. Derek Young had some nice catches, some nice plays. Brandon Peely is a guy, nose tackle, that I'm interested in. He's a guy that was quietly signed on a futures deal, I think, from the Chargers, and has a chance to be. You're gonna hear some sound from Aden Durde in a second about him. Other than that, I think those are the key things I'm looking through to see if there's anything else that jumped out to me yesterday. So I think those are the big ones. Let me share some sound for you from Aden Durde. And this first clip I'm going to play for you is him talking about Byron Murphy and wanting to unlock him. And here's Aden Durde talking about Mr. Murphy.
Yeah, I think the next level for him is just consistency. I felt like for him, he had a certain role, like a first and second down role, some third down reps. He's really trying to, I think he can make a big jump to become an every down D tackle, and affect the game on all down and distances. You kind of saw glimpses of it last year, but it's just building that consistency, that mental conditioning, physical conditioning, understanding what type of situation you're in for that position, because there's lots of different things that can happen. And then he plays more, kind of different techniques inside.
What have you seen out of?
So you hear him there talking about playing different techniques, and that for me is some confirmation of what Byron Murphy was saying of getting some more chances at 3 tech. He played a lot of 0 and 1 tech last year over the nose, and there's just generally less pass rushing potential from that spot on the line. So, I think that's good. I think you also heard from AD that they're not going to just look at him as a first and second down player. That was his role last year. They're going to try to get him to be a 3-down player. We all know that third down is where money is made as a pass rusher. And so giving him a chance to be out there on third down, that the coaches are looking for that from him and expecting that from him, I think is meaningful. Here is AD talking about Brandon Peely, the nose tackle, and Quentin Bohanna. Because I asked him, outside of Jonathan Hankins, who are some guys you're looking at the nose tackle position?
Yeah, I think Hank hasn't been here for a couple of weeks, so it really gives Peely, and Bo took a little nip the other week, but both of them guys were doing really good, pushing themselves, pushing each other. I think them two have got a little kind of competitive friendship, and they work together and everything, so it's helping them push it. Because really and truthfully, they're competing against themselves. They just have to get better, and they're doing it. It's cool to see.
I think that those guys are probably the least known important parts of this offseason. The Seahawks did not get a nose tackle in the draft, even though it was a strong nose tackle draft. And those guys are ones, Bohanna was part of practice squad on and off last year. He was with AD in Dallas a little bit. He went to Tennessee. And so AD knows him. And, the fact that he and Brandon Peely are out there, those are the younger nose tackles that are on the roster that you're hoping somebody can kind of make a big leap and challenge Jonathan Hankins for snaps. I think that would be important as you look through it. The next clip I wanted to play here from AD was about Riley Mills. And I mentioned this yesterday on my post-practice report, was that Riley Mills was just so eager. he could just see he was dying to be in these drills. He was standing inches away from the back of the line where guys were running through just basic like agility kind of drills and pass rush move drills. And he just was so eager taking these mental reps. And he was an AD. John Schneider had said after the draft that Aden Durde was going to like, quit if they didn't draft Riley Mills. And so here was AD talking about, what it is that he likes so much about Riley Mills.
I just love his detail, his consistency, his understanding of the game, like the way he plays the game. I think he's got a really bright future in our league. Like he's in it. If you watch today, like he stands behind, he takes these mental reps. He's just trying to improve, and you got to respect that.
Yeah. So it's a guy that I think has just an interesting path here, and not a guy you can count on just because of the injury, but when he comes out there, you have a feeling he's going to be someone that will demand some snaps. And I'm really curious to see what that looks like. I asked AD as well about this different edge rush group. Now that you got DeMarcus Lawrence, you've got, Uchenna Nwosu, who was in attendance yesterday, although not practicing. And then you got Boye Mafe and Derek Hall. Like, these guys are all kind of different players. And so how do you work with like an edge group that has so many different players with different strengths?
That's the beauty of having like an edge room like that. I think like when people have different strengths, they can really own separate roles, and then they can help each other grow in the other roles that they're like kind of deficient in. So, and that's already starting to happen. Like Law works with the younger guys like D Hall and Boye. Chenna's just got back, so it'll be exciting when they're all here. And Jay Hines and CP are doing a really good job, like developing those guys.
We just heard from Spoon before you.
Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to play for you from AD was, a little bit more about expectations for Boye Mafe and Derek Hall and where they are in their development. So I think this was an interesting clip from him on those two players who are really crucial for the Seahawks.
I think for Boye, it's really affecting the game on every down and distance. Me and him talk about it all the time. Like he does it, and like he really like brings the game to life on third down. Like, can he bring the game to life on first and second, just like he brings the game to life on third down? And then D Hall, it's just like consistency of play, being as efficient as possible. Sometimes D Hall's like a bull in a china shop, so like he wastes energy at times. So it's just like, how efficient can he be? How can he bring his edge moves to life? And they're things we're working on.
That was interesting insight there. For Boye, it's almost the opposite for each of them. Boye Mafe, it was like, hey, like you're bringing the juice on third down, but where are you on first and second? Can you be that player on every down? That's an interesting one, and you have to wonder how the coaches feel about a player in that situation where maybe he isn't as active on those other downs. I think that's one to watch. On Derek Hall, the fact that they're basically saying like he is just all go all the time. It's more about like know when to go and know when to spend that energy, because you can kind of burn yourself out. One thing I didn't mention, Derek Hall had an awesome rush yesterday, and it was not a power rush. It was a speed rush. And, obviously Derek Hall's known for his power and speed to power rushes. This was just getting around the edge, was really impressive. And that was good to see. Before I share, I got some sound from Devon Witherspoon. Before I share that, I want to remind you folks, I've got a great deal going right now for Father's Day. So if you want a quick, easy, affordable, and like nice Father's Day gift for your dad, your grandfather, these Extra Pro wallets are awesome. EKSTER, if you're listening and not watching, use promo code HAWK. Gets you 50% off this wallet. It's leather, very nice. You can get them different. And the cool thing here, you got this little button to press that when you press it, boom, pops out your cards so you can access them really easily. And you've got this guy right here who just beeped that is programmed with your Apple iPhone for Find My Wallet. So you can find your wallet if it gets lost or stolen. It's just a really cool, smart wallet, nice and compact, thin, and with this deal using promo code HAWK, super affordable. So don't waste time trying to find a better Father's Day gift. You got it right here. Extra Pro wallet. You're going to love it. I certainly love mine, and I'm getting one for my son. So you might as well get one for your father, your grandfather. Help them find their wallets when they invariably lose them, because they're going to. And also head on over to jkboots.com. Use code HawkBlogger. Gets you $75 off. The best boots you'll ever own. Washington company over in Spokane, family owned. Not only do you get $75 off with code HawkBlogger, but you get $15 donated to the Wildland Firefighters Foundation to help protect our Northwest Forest firefighters, to keep the Northwest forests safe and the Northwest as beautiful as it is. So code HawkBlogger over there at jkboots.com. Another great place to go to get a really great deal. All right, last bit that I wanted to share with you is a couple sounds from Devon Witherspoon. And Spoon, I love Devon Witherspoon as a player. He seems like a great guy. He's not the most effusive with the media, which is fine. Like that's fine. I wish he would share a little bit more of his personality in these settings. But I asked him, I feel like the culture is forming there, and he's a big part of it. And so I asked him, if you were to describe the Seahawks culture in the locker room to an opposing player who's maybe interested in coming to Seattle, how would you describe it? And here's what he said.
I don't know. I just say it's different. You already, you're kind of far away from everybody, but our culture in our locker room is we just stick together. It's a brotherhood in there. And, we have fun and we kick it with each other. So. I think we just becoming a lot closer this year, and then we just continue to build on what we did last year. So,
fun, closer than it was last year. I think more of what we've heard on that front. And then the next bit that I wanted to play here from Spoon was, his early impressions of rookie Nick Eamon-Warry. And I thought the words he used were interesting here, and, important to kind of have a little bit, set expectations about what it's going to mean for the rookie to jump in.
That's my boy. He got a lot to learn, but yeah, I think he's going to be real good for us. What stands out to you? Obviously his size and his speed, but his ball knowledge, he a smart kid, so I think he's going to catch on to this defense very easy. And then once he get comfortable doing it, I think there's no limit for him.
So I mean, first response there was he's got a lot to learn. I think that's a good reminder. Consider that Devon Witherspoon is like a football savant and came in and picked up this defense very quickly. But a lot of the other guys on the team, it did take them time to adjust to this defense. It's a complicated defense. And you can assume they're trying to make things as streamlined and simplified for Nick Eamon-Warry as possible. But for a rookie to come in, to a new place, new defense, figure it out right away, it's a lot to ask. So you hear from Spoon there that he's got a lot to learn, using his words, but also says that he's smart. He knows ball, and he thinks he'll pick it up pretty quickly. So he's got a lot. The nice thing is Nick Eamon-Warry is not part of some large rookie class that has to figure out how this defense is supposed to work or how you're supposed to play. They've now got a full year of guys that have already played in this defense and can help him along his path. So I think Nick Eamon-Warry's learning curve should actually be a little bit shallower, I guess, or flatter than it would be if he was coming in last year, where everybody was learning the defense, and even the vets were not able to help him learn things. Here is Spoon on new quarterback Sam Darnold, and I think it's always important to recognize, defenders are not always going to give the most credit to the offensive players, but I thought this was faint praise, I guess you could say, from Devon Witherspoon about Sam Darnold.
You know, he got his strengths, he got his weaknesses, like every quarterback. Now he's on our team. He's gonna go out there and make a lot of plays for us. So we put out a lot of trust in him, and I believe he's gonna deliver. So,
as I said, Spoon is not the most loquacious guy when he gets in front of the microphone. I took that, like, we've asked him about Geno Smith last year, and he was much more effusive. Like, oh, Geno's really, like, he's on it. Like, he is really challenging us. He's giving us something every day. Like, there's none of this conversation about God, his strengths and his weaknesses. Like, didn't get that whenever you were asking about Geno. That doesn't mean that things are, bad on the Darnold front, but I think, asking him that question on the day that Darnold struggled at times, we'll see. Like, that's just something to watch, because there is something that comes from when the defense respects the offense and the offense respects the defense. That's when you've got a great team. I don't know that the defense respects the offense yet. And why would they? I mean, they haven't really seen it. They haven't really competed against it. And they've just been competing the last week or so. So the defense is going to be well ahead of the offense by, like, even if Geno was still here, the defense would be ahead of the offense, because it's a new scheme with new players, new coaches. It just takes a little time for all that to come into play. But you'll know things are really cooking when the defense is really talking about how well the offense is playing, because they don't generally want to do that. And I don't think we're there quite yet. Last clip here from Devon Witherspoon was talking about Cooper Kupp. And, this is a good example of there's a different tone in his voice. There's a different, I think, level of detail in what he's talking about when asked about Cooper Kupp, who's also on the offense.
That's different. Just to get the lineup and play against him, and just to see him every day in practice. The way he can run routes and make everything look the same. It's a good diversity. And then you got Jackson on the other side. I think that's just gonna help us a lot better at corner. So,
having played against Cooper, what makes him a challenge to cover as a corner?
Just like he can run any route, and then he make all his routes look the same. So it's like you can't really get a tell on what he's gonna do. So.
You mean on the break? What do you mean about making it look the same? Off the ball?
Yeah, coming off the ball, the stems, the way he gonna run the route, everything looks the same. So that's what make him a great receiver. So
You hear the difference? Like, there's a lot of respect in his voice when he's talking about Cooper Kupp, and that going against him is making him a better cornerback. Just knowing that he's not going to be able to predict where he's going to go, his stems his release coming off the ball, everything looks the same. And that's something Cooper Kupp takes a lot of pride in. That's how he's made his career. And that's cool. Like, that's cool that he still sees it. It's cool that they go against each other. And this was a practice where there was maybe one of the most impressive reps of the day was Spoon absolutely locking down Cooper Kupp in the red zone. Kupp was trying to break free, and Spoon would not let him go. And then he talked. He made sure everybody knew about it after the play. So, when he's doing that to a player and he's still talking about how much respect he's got for that guy and how good he is, I think that was cool to hear. And I think good news. If you haven't already given the show a like and click subscribe, please do. I would greatly appreciate it. Head on over to patreon.com/hawkblogger. Get ad-free audio of this show each and every day, as well as access to the Discord channel where we're talking Seahawks, Mariners, Kraken, whatever your sports are that you love. It's a really, really cool community, really good folks, and it's going to be growing. It continues to grow. So I think I want this to be like the friendliest, safest, happiest Seahawks community out there. And I think we're on a really good trajectory to do that. So head over to patreon.com/hawkblogger, join up there. If you're a club level or higher YouTube member, you also get access to the Discord channel. So lots of ways to be part of the community. Keep an eye out for when I will do the show this afternoon, but I got a fun announcement, something I'm really excited about, and part of why I might look sleepier than normal. Been hard at work on something, and I want to share all about the announcement there later. So keep an eye out on that. And you heard my extra wallet talking to me there, beeping at me. I think it maybe thought I was trying to pair with it. But again, if you want to go to extra.com, there's a link actually in the description of the video. But if you use promo code HAWK, you get 50% off an Extra Wallet Pro. Here's mine. I love it. Use it, and I will never lose it because I've also got the Finder card that's hooked up to my Apple Find My iPhone. Great Father's Day gift. So, and a really, really special deal. So use code HAWK over at extra.com. All right, everybody, that'll do it. I will be back with you later today for the special announcement. Tomorrow, I will be talking to Brock Heward. Looking forward to doing that. And I'll be back at Seahawks OTAs. So we'll probably also have a real Hawk Talk. It is going to be a very busy Wednesday tomorrow. So looking forward to that with all of you. Make sure you click like, make sure you subscribed. Until then, I am Brian Nemhauser, and this has been another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. Oh, wait, I think I missed one little super chat. Luke Mitchell has become a YouTube member. Well, welcome to the crew, Luke. Thanks for joining. All right, this has been another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. Take care, y'all.